So I'm just demonstrating the runway pose, and like I said, I'm basing it on my 9-head croquis that I've already drawn. It has everything to do with the contrapposto pose except for that foreshortened leg. So here we have the head and the neck, and we've established that, and by the way, this is, this is the problem, is that I don't have the actual image. It's not going to show up in the thing. So I'll put this. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, so paste. Oh, come on. All right, nope, that's not working. So tag walk. All right, where's tag walk? There's tag walk. Okay, so tag walk. Oh, come on. Okay, all right, don't cooperate. All right, so what I will do later on is I will find the names of these looks, and I will, please come up here. Okay, here we go. And I will put it in the notes for this, okay? So right here, we're looking at this model coming down. This is actually, I believe, Prada, the Prada Spring Summer. So what's happening here is that I've got my figure. This is a straight-on figure, and I'm basically going to alter it the same way that I would alter the contrapposto pose. So over here, we've noticed that the left leg is going forward. That's going to be our weight-bearing leg. So that weight-bearing leg, even if it's not looking completely in the middle, I'm just going to go ahead and make it in the middle. And so I'm going to draw that runway foot right in the center there, and that's going to be in line in the pit of the neck right there. So over here, this means that since the left leg is going forward, and I'm just going to draw it like a robot at first, that means that the left hip is going up, okay? So if the left hip is going up, that means that the left shoulder is going down, exactly, okay? Now, even though, and it doesn't even really look like she's like cockeyed or anything like that, but I'm just going to go ahead and draw her that way anyway. I'm just going to do that right there. And so here I've got my basic croquis coming down here. And so I know that the breasts and the shoulders kind of follow with each other. I know that the waist and the low hip follow each other, and that the knee and that the ankle will follow with the hip and the low hip and the ankle. Okay, so it's all going in this direction. So I'm going to go ahead and draw the arms in. She's kind of swinging them, but I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to bring them down. I know that the elbow is going to come down just a little bit, and then the wrist is going to come down a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and make my runway hand. Base of the thumb, there's a little divot, flat of the hand, knuckle, and then this. You got that going there. Okay? So I've got one going that way, and then I'm going to put this other one up here because I can see all this stuff. None of it is covered with clothing. So I'm going to make that elbows a little bit higher, make that wrist a little bit higher, and then she's holding a bag, which you can depict or not. That's up to you. And so then what we have to do is figure out the rest of the pose. Well, in the contrapposto pose, it means that this knee is going to be going down. But you see that this knee is also coming in. It's not going out the way that we did before. So we're actually coming over here, seeing the center of that leg that's coming down here. And if the knee is up here on this side, then this other knee is going to drop a little bit. Okay? So I've just made that leg right there. Okay? Now, the rest of it is not going to be formula because it changes every time. So this time, what I need to do is I need to figure out where that ankle is, and I can tell because there's an ankle strap on her shoe, and that's also at the 8 line. And I'm just going to go ahead and make her shoe right there. Now, one of the things that you can do is to look for the negative space between the legs, and right here, I can tell like at about her mid-calf right here, this is where this other leg kind of disappears. So I'm going to put some negative space in between these legs here, and I'm coloring them in with black there, okay? And so the thing is that this is going backwards in space, so it's going to appear smaller. All right, now I used to teach drawing 1, and we went through a whole thing on perspective, but we ain't gonna do it this time. So the thing is we just don't have time. So what you have to do here is look at, kind of the clues to see things, okay? So if you look at what's happening with her shoe back there, if this foot wasn't showing, you would see all of her foot and the tip of her shoe would probably be about the place where that ankle is. And I can just see a little bit of that shoe back there. So I'm just going to put it like that. Now, over here, I can see her ankle like that. And then it kind of goes down and disappears. Okay? So what do we do with the rest of this stuff? You just end up shortening or foreshortening that calf. And over here, and I wish I hadn't done it in pen because, and this is about as close as I'm going to get right here, okay? And so the thing is that's where people really start to have problems, is with that stupid leg, okay? At some point, we are going to make it so that you can have just a template to work on, okay? So the thing is now that I've mapped out that pose, I'm going to go ahead and color it in. So I'm going to get some marker paper. Put that on there. I can see through here. I'm going to use my light so you can see through it better here. Okay? So I've mapped out my pose. Got that going for me. And so the thing is now all I really have to worry about is, getting the garments on there. And we've gone pretty minimal on the garments, so we don't have to, so we can just kind of map that out too. So like I said, I'm just going to go over what I've done here. Give her that afro. We've got hair exercises coming up, so don't worry about that, ladies and gentlemen. It's all coming together. So over here, you've got that neck. I'm going to make her shoulders go like this. And we see a lot of her shoulders, so I'm just going to keep all that stuff over here. And there's my runway hand on one side. There's my runway hand on the other side. Like I said, you can have her holding something if you want to try that out. No big deal. I'm going to have her purse hanging down here. But what we really want to do is figure out, now that I've got my pose ready, now we're just going to be looking at the clothes, okay? So down here, we know that there isn't any clothes down here on her leg and that we've taken care of this over here. Going to put a little bit of negative space between the legs here, even though that still looks a little bit weird. Okay, so go up here, and then we start to see what happens with the garments, okay? So that's a pretty short skirt, which is good for us, okay? Because that comes down just below, I would say just below the crotch. Now, she's moving here, and that's the thing, is you want to make this stuff kind of, look like it's in motion. You have to kind of obey what's happening with the body here. So I'm just going to start here at the bottom, and I'm just going to make my line right here, and that's going to be the hem of my garment over here. Okay, so I know that seemed like kind of, that's all nice at the bottom, but you're kind of confusing me. But the thing is that what we want to do first and foremost is establish our silhouette. Okay, want to get that garment shape. And so lucky for us, she's wearing a pretty tight mini dress, so I can kind of go along with the body here. Okay, and over here it kind of just is like a regular sundress. We know that her breasts are down here, so up here, above here, we can start to put the top, the bodice of that dress, and we want to make it seem like it's going around her chest like that. Okay, so I'm just going to put that there. I'm also going to give her these straps. I can't see things real clearly, so hopefully I won't be missing too many details here. But these straps kind of come over close to her armpits, okay? So her armpits are over here, and so we've got the other strap over here, and they're relatively thick straps, okay? So
So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put those collarbones in there, put that pit of the neck in there. But now I really want to start focusing in on this garment. And that is where my basic shape, I'm going to follow this on the outside. So here we see these breasts here, but this fabric is kind of poking out at the breast a little bit, but it comes in, and then it comes in here at the waist. And so I think that I can be safe to say follows that down pretty well here. And we'll worry about how the garment is being pushed and pulled when we come back to doing the details. But we've got the basic shape here. That's why I said before, like, you know, if you wanted to do those ones in the PDF, that'd be fine too, because it's just basically form-fitting stuff. So let's see what one of the first things that I noticed was it has this little flap, okay? It's almost as if there's like a short, like if you had a skirt or something in here. So this is really moving, and it's coming from this really jutted out hip to just above or right above that little hemline. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put that there. And then, okay, so you have to think about the fact that this person is moving. And when you move, like when I move, this thing starts to move with it, okay, right? And so that's how you kind of follow along with the way that these shapes go. So I've got things that it's coming in at the waist, but what's great about this is that they just obviously just took a little pinch here over at the side underneath the bust, and they kind of pinched together some of that fabric so that you have some spare fabric, but that bust is poking out. So you have to make for the shadow of that. And this is kind of stiff fabric. You know, it's not knit. It's not really like hugging the body so much. It's actually got some body to it. And so over here where the fabric's being pushed up, I can put a drapery line there or a tension line there. Across the pelvis, that's where she's walking. I'm going to put another tension line there. I'm going to put another. This is the first time I'm drawing this. I'm just looking at this for practically the first time. And then over here, you know, not as prominent as these other motion lines are, but over here you've got a little bit of a shadow too where the fabric's moving. And I'm going to put a couple more little dark parts here underneath the breast. I'm going to kind of, usually, I mean, I would be doing this in pencil and I'd be kind of marking things out, but I forgot to draw the upper leg here. So this is, I've pretty much got my garment here, okay? And so now the work that can be done here is with my marker, okay? So first of all, I'm just going to go ahead and get my skin tone out of the way. Now, you can see that there's a lot of sheen coming down the center here because of that runway light. That happens a lot, so I'm just kind of leave that blank. And she's got some skin tone here. Back here, one way to make something look farther away is to make it darker, okay? So you can lay in some extra marker skin tone, especially back here on this foreshortened area. And I'll be talking more about that in a minute. So I'm just going to go ahead and get her whole look down, get my skin tone, do that, get her a face, you know. Now that we know how to do faces, we know how easy that is. I'm going to go ahead and color this whole in since I did this. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to put in another layer of skin tone because this is going to really need to seem like it's receding. And by using darker values, it's a great way to make it seem like it's receding in space. So here I've got my skin tone marker. One of the things that I really want to emphasize, especially on the runway, is you always see a very dark you see a very dark shadow underneath the chin. You can go ahead and put like a extra skin tone around the eyes, the cheekbones, etc., etc. I'm just doing that. So now I'm going to go for my dress, okay? And so the dress for me, I'm just going to say that it's going to be gray. So I'm just going to kind of color the whole thing in gray. And then my layering, and if I want to use them, my colored pencils will come in handy, okay? Mr. Bautista, I realize that you have a different style here. Okay, so for one thing, one of the problems here is I'm not really giving this fabric enough stiffness. So, but right now we're just focusing more on the pose. So I'm gonna pretend I didn't do that. And so then I'm gonna put 2 layers since I messed that up. And then I'm going to lay in my extra value where we see the dark stuff. So we do see a lot of dark stuff underneath the breast. So extra marker there. Okay, we're also going to see some darkness where they're pulling that fabric together. You know, these are always, it's always very interesting to me, like how a garment works this way. So probably can't see this real well, but I've, put a few little extra dark marks underneath where that is just pulling together, where they made that pinch, because that's a really good part of that design right there. Next thing, I'm going to put some extra marker along all these places where the fabric is kind of folding in on itself. I'm definitely gonna put this here, but then I start to say to myself, well, I'm not really seeing a whole, I'm not really getting that, I kind of went too dark. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go, and there are several sets of the colored pencil. You could use that. I could also use a darker gray. Right now, I've only got my C5 gray, so I'm going to lean into my colored pencils, and I'm going to add colored pencil value in all the darker spots. Well, there's some underneath the breast. There's definitely some where they kind of pinched this together. I like that. I like that little thing, and I think I'm going to have to steal it. I'll use that. And so over here, where there's a lot of darkness, especially, and then of course, like, things like get pinched underneath the armpit a little bit. You want to put a little bit of dark there. And let me see where else. Underneath this little flap, I'm going to come on a little bit better, more here, and then over at the sides, okay? And like I said, I messed up a little bit before, but don't mind that. Also, I was going to say that this probably is not as form-fitting as a knit would be, so I'm going to add a little bit more fabric here at the side. And then when I do that, I'm going to show how it's getting pushed around a little bit more. So I'm just doing this with my black colored pencil, and the colored pencils we have are really good quality, and they're also, you're welcome to use them. And so I'm just going to put, and the thing is that sometimes when you want lighter shadows, you can just do this. Like, I'll be going, when we do hair, we're going to be definitely going into, using the colored pencils at length. But for me, like, you can either like get a really dark value this way, or you can just kind of add a little shadow here and there. And I'm going to do that a little bit as well. So, and like I said, there's not much to this, and I'm not quite sure that I got the boxiness of this down quite well. But it's what we've got right now. So let's not, we won't pick on me too much about it. So the thing is what I'm going to do is I'm going to blend in a little bit of these. But like I said, the fabric here has some body, so it's really got some angles. I know that I'm coloring right in front here, So just do your best here. And we're under a really bright spotlight. And so for me, one of the last things I like to do is just, you know, if it's necessary, I go ahead and I add a little bit of lightness here if I've gone a little dark. And so here with my white colored pencil, I like to, I've said it before, but if you think of the white colored pencil as the frosting on the cake, and here I'm starting to bring back some of the light values that I lost, okay? And that's kind of important sometimes, but here we go. So it's working much better for me now that I'm adding a little bit of this white here, because I'm starting to, because I think that I started to lose some of the real crispness of this. And so the thing is like I said, your white colored pencils are kind of like frosting on the cake. You don't smear in and rub in the frosting on the cake. You just leave the frosting on the cake there. And another thing that I kind of neglected to do here was kind of make it seem like it was going around her back here. And there's a lot of dark stuff that we're not seeing here, but that garment kind of goes around here, right there. So I'm going to kind of leave this alone. I'm as happy as I'm going to be with this at this point. This dress was a little bit more of a challenge than I thought, but do your best. The thing that we are focusing on the most part is, of course, the pose. Now, if you guys really want to make, okay, so please have a dark brown in here. Please, please, please have a dark brown here. So she's got dark skin, so I'm going to get I'm either going to get a dark marker and go in and emphasize the really dark things over here. I'm hoping here, that's very dark. Okay, so I think I'm going to be better off if I get my colored pencils. I'm used to dealing with those. So over here, I'm going to find my dark brown colored pencil. And so I'm going to start, like for one thing, I'm just going to start making this back leg recede a bit more by adding more value. And then back here, I'm just going to make that almost completely brown. And I'm going to also make sure that I have a lot of darkness where this mini skirt is casting a shadow over her legs. And then over here, she's dark skinned, so I'm going to emphasize the joints here. But over here, I'm going to go back with my skin tone marker wherever it went, and I'm going to blend in some of this. So I'm really just getting that darker value to make it look like it's farther away. And so as long as I've got this, doing this to the top, I'll just go ahead and be consistent and get some darker value all over the place with her. But for the most part, that's pretty much how to do it. And I'm going to blend this in a little bit more. And, you know, sometimes I like to do a little bit of flourish. Where'd my pen go? There it is. And so, you know, make her seem like she's not going around in space. Like I said, we will be covering this, but in order to get this afro, I always start with gray, and then I go in with black colored pencil, and I leave the light, it's reflecting the light, even though it's not shiny. So I'm going to leave that gray there, and then I'm going to blend in this and not bother the gray, so she'll still have some light. And it's a little bit, her afro is a little fuller than I originally gave it to. We will be doing hair, don't worry about it. And, you know, just wanted to finish her off, give her a little bit of personality, some red lips, you know, just kind of whatever you do to, you know, finish things off. But the most important thing here, and of course I make her look all lopsided and, oh, I'm angry now. Okay, so anyway, there you go. And so we're starting to understand how the fabric gets pushed around when the person is walking, and we get to see what happens when we lose sight of this back leg. It gets smaller in space. You may want to go over your work with pigment liner, but that's not necessary. I do expect you to have these done in color, whether that be with colored pencils or marker. And you know what? I'm going to say this. Y'all are not putting your names on your work, and you need to initial it or something, because sometimes I'll be like, oh no, I took two people's stuff, the photo, sometimes I'll compare work, and I'll be like, I don't know what folder I got this out of. So please do yourself a favor, do me a favor, and do your signature, whatever you want to do here. And this is Prada, and I don't know which number, but it's spring, summer 24. Tried to get something that was like pretty current, okay? So that's it. All right, and I'll stop this, and then we'll go ahead and I